Control of the U.S. Senate runs through Virginia. Longtime Democratic Senator Tim Kaine wants another term.
I'm proud of what I've done. I got a whole lot more I want to do.
Tim Kaine on the brain.
Republican challenger Hung Cao says he's ready to take a seat in the world's most deliberative body.
Tim Kaine has been in office for 30 years. And he's saying, give me 6 more and I'll get us out.
Okay, wait, I need to know how did he pronounce that?
It's another term.
I'm proud of what I've done. I got a whole lot more I want to do.
Republican challenger Hung Cao says he's...
Okay, I did say it right. You guys were just making fun of me. Okay, I got it right.
Ready to take a seat in the world's most deliberative body.
Tim Kaine has been in office for 30 years. And he's saying, give me 6 more and I'll get us out. I don't think we buy that right now.
Tonight, in their only televised debate, the candidates take on the challenges Virginians face daily.
This country's taking a dark turn.
How are we going to fix the economy?
I think
we should really give Jack a break.
Salmon Moose, thank you for that big BWA energy and the 10 gifted subs. My God, we are now 1 sub away from 150. Let's go. Thank you so much. Thank you for making the show possible. Again, not a big channel. I could not do it without viewers like you. Thank you so, so much. I couldn't do this full time without you guys.
A competing economy in the world that has done what the U.S. has done, and we've exceeded our own expectations.
Which candidate will you trust?
Okay, the main thing I will say, Hung Cao does have an edge in this debate, mostly because Tim Kaine needs to take a little bit better care of his hair, okay? Like, just commit to being bald, or like actually put some effort in to tame that mane, okay? Like, what's going on here, man? What's, come on, get a hat, get a comb, get some oils.
We've exceeded our own expectations.
Look, the hair game is on point with Hung Cao. I wonder if the hair game is going to come up in the debate.
Candidate will you trust? Which candidate
looks
shares
like a
your
wizard.
views on social issues, your dreams for our economy, and which one will keep your family safe? Good evening from the nation's capital. I'm your host, Leland Biddard from News Nation.
One of my favorite... Okay, like, seriously, guys, I know I'm going to keep pausing this. One of my favorite things about debate season is the music that they use for, around the debates, to frame the debates. Because it always, to me, sounds like JRPG battle music. And I'm here for it. I just want to groove a little bit, you know? Let's go through a couple of these battle animation cycles. Let's listen to it a little. Let's enjoy it. You know, like you hear it, right?
It's debate night, and we are focused on 2 men with very different views on border security, women's rights, and the future of an economy so many of us are struggling with. Moderating tonight's
Subscribe to Riverboat Jack for all your breaking news.
Jesus Christ.
Perfect.
Sam News, thank you for the 10 gifted tier 1 subs. and for really running with this joke into the ground, much like I run my Subaru into the ground.
debate, Deanna Albritton, anchor at WRIC in Richmond, and Tom Shad, anchor at Wavy TV and Fox 43 in Norfolk.
Man, I do not envy having that last name. Having the last name Shad seems like an absolute curse for so many reasons. Especially when it's spelled this way. Like, Shad is just an inauspicious last name on its own, but also you spelling it with the Chad in there. Chad. Bad vibes.
You're able to watch the debate across the country on News Nation, as well as on every television market in every county in Virginia, from Roanoke to Norfolk.
Let's
Before
go!
we get to the questions, here are the rules. Senator Kaine, Mr. Cao, You will have 60 seconds to answer a question. If there is a follow-up question or rebuttal, you'll have 30 seconds to respond. When time is up, you will hear this bell. Each candidate will also have 30 seconds for a closing statement. Now, live from Norfolk State University, it's debate night in Virginia.
You guys hear it, right? You guys hear it. It is JRPG music, right? You hear it. It's not just me, right?
Welcome to NSU and welcome to our live audience that you can see that we have here. They've shown us that they are passionate, they are eager for tonight, but we have asked them to hold all reaction and response to the candidates until the very end. Good.
But the audiences never do that, though. You guys know that they're liars. You guys know that they're gonna react.
Good evening, candidates. I'm Deanna Albritton.
And I'm Tom Shad. We are looking forward to a very informative hour, a discussion
The
of
audience
Virginia's
is gonna
most
rush the
important
stage.
issues and a very spirited debate from both candidates. Deanna?
Yes, let's go ahead and get started with some big news here in Hampton Roads involving one of the busiest ports on the East Coast. The workers here are among the 45,000 in America now on strike, which could cripple our economy heading into the election and the holiday season. Mr. Cow, you have...
Oh, by the way, for the record, just to head off what they're about to talk about here, I think this is the right tab. Yeah. The longshoremen are no longer striking. They got a 62% raise. So, it didn't cripple the nation's economy. Just in case you were worried about that, that didn't happen. They just like did like a 2-day long strike and the company folded.
Won the coin toss, so we will start with you. If you were in the negotiating room, what would a good deal look like to you? You have 60 seconds.
Well, again, thank you, NSU, for having us here. You know, the economy is hitting us all the same way. That's exactly why the ILA is doing the boycott right now and going on strike, is because ask yourself this question: are you better off today than you were 4 years ago?
What?
If you're a military person, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? If you're law enforcement, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? If you're a family struggling to put food on the table, are you better off today?
You know, the union boss is a Trump supporter who's seen at Mar-a-Lago. You know what, though? I don't care. He got his he did his job. He got his workers a 62% raise.
Than you were 4 years ago. The answer across the board is no. The only people better off today than they were 4 years ago are illegal aliens, criminals, and senators like Senator Tim Kaine. We spent $1 billion.
What? See, this is exactly what I was talking about. Republicans just live in a completely different reality where, like, undocumented immigrants are like living in palaces, you know, the secret underground cavern palaces that only undocumented immigrants know about, and, you know, elite Democrats. Like, seriously, they talk about undocumented immigrants as if they live in, like, secret invisible sky palaces.
A day to house and feed illegal aliens. I want to make sure students like NSU, when they're graduating, they know that they have a future to walk into. They get to grab onto the American dream the way I did. And that's what I'm going to...
You know, this was a question about a port strike, just in case you guys forgot.
going to fight for is all Americans that came here legally and all Americans that grew up here.
Thank you, Mr. Cow, for explaining that. We will get to immigration later, but we did ask if you were in the negotiation room over the port strike.
But we did ask a completely different question.
What would a good deal look like to you? You have 30 seconds.
Again, they're hurting because of the inflation, the immense inflation that's going on right now. And look.
Oh yeah, did we have a 62% increase in inflation?
Just like with the hurricane that's going on right now that happened through the East Coast, you know, where's the leadership? Joe Biden's on the beach. Kamala Harris is with a bunch of billionaires doing a fundraiser, and Senator Tim Kaine is at a pig roast. And where's the
again, the president approved disaster relief funding. The people who denied funding to FEMA were Republicans. He lives in a completely different reality.
leadership? They're, if it has to do with Ukraine, they're all over it. If it's about illegal aliens, they're all over it. But if you're Americans, you're on your own.
Thank you, Mr. Cal. Mr. Kaine, the same question to you.
He's literally saying, yes, they're striking because of inflation. No, they're striking because they haven't had a raise significant in years. A significant raise in years. And they're striking because they're worried about their jobs being taken away due to automation. Like, that reasonable things to strike about.
Does a good deal look like to you in this port strike? You have 60 seconds.
Absolutely. Let me begin by thanking Norfolk State, Dr. Adams Gaston, and the Spartans for welcoming me back to this stage. It's great to be back at Norfolk State. I want to thank Wavy and other stations for broadcasting this debate. And then two messages. One, a message of friendship to Virginia's Jewish community beginning Rosh Hashanah observations this evening. And second, a message of solidarity for those in Southwest Virginia who've been hit hard by Hurricane Helene. I was there Monday and yesterday. I'm going to be back on Friday and Saturday fighting with Governor Youngkin and our bipartisan delegation to get a disaster declaration.
Magic Churro, thank you for subscribing.
Your recovery. My opponent didn't answer the question. If you're in the room, what you're doing is you're trying to get the sides to come closer. I was on the phone earlier today with Acting Secretary of Labor, Julie Su. That's what they're doing. We are narrowing the differences, and I think we're going to find a deal.
And they did. So, good job on the strike.
Longshoremen haven't had a new contract in 6 years, and they're entitled 6 years later to get better treatment. And that's what I would be urging if I was in the room.
Mr. Kaine, to follow up, what does better treatment look like to you exactly? You have.
Well, very knifey duck. I think he didn't answer in a better way, and then he actually did circle back at the end there. So, like, props. And now she's following up. She's doing a good job moderating here by asking a follow-up question. Let's go.
30 seconds.
I'm not with the ILA to know exactly what they're asking for, but look, 6 years ago, the world was a lot different. My colleague said nobody's better off than 4 years ago. 4 years ago, we were in the middle of COVID.
I do wish he'd been a little bit more prepared for that question. I do think overall he's answering better than Mr. Cow, but I don't think he's doing a great job either.
Hundreds of thousands of people were dying. Businesses were closing. You couldn't find toilet paper on shelves, and we had a president trying to overturn the peaceful transfer of power. A lot has happened in the last 6 years since the ILA had their last contract. You've got to bring the terms, wages, and benefits up to where they should be circa 2024. Paying them like it's 2018 doesn't cut it.
Thank you, Mr. Kaine. And now to Tom, we will turn to the evolving crisis in the Middle East.
Thank you, Deanna. Mr. Kaine, a number...
Oh my God, this guy's going to have a totally unhinged answer on this, isn't he? Oh no.
Of Virginia-based warships have been deployed to the area over the past several months. So far, our posture has been to defend Israel. Mr. Kaine, is there a point when U.S. military shifts to an offensive measure against Iran? You have 60 seconds.
Oh my God.
First, I do not believe it would be a good idea for the U.S. to be in another war in the Middle East. If we've learned one thing from...
I'm always on pins and needles when it comes to this question, even when it's being asked to a Democrat, because I'm like, oh my God, are they going to say something completely unhinged? But like, I thank you, Tim Kaine, for not being like insanely bloodthirsty and like trying to take us into war with Iran. It's the barest minimum you could possibly do, but God, I'm good. I'm really glad he's not like, yeah, we should go to war with Iran.
2001 to 2021, we should be supporting our allies, but we should resist any effort by anyone to get the U.S. in another war in the Middle East.
Good answer.
With respect to supporting Israel's defense, I have been rock solid pro-Israel defense since I came into the Senate in 2013, supporting the annual appropriations where Israel gets more aid than any other nation.
I do have to say, like, this is like the equivalent of I guess like the establishment equivalent of do you support Hamas? Like, every single time they get asked a question like this, they have to be like, yeah, I am a staunch supporter of like Israel being able to defend itself, because like otherwise people are going to point at him and say like, oh yeah, you just want Israel to be bombed, don't you? You just want Israel to be attacked, don't you? You disgusting anti-Semite. It's like, oh, okay, well, you know, he's got it. He's got to say that, guys. He's got to say it, otherwise, like, the knives come out from the establishment.
Supporting the renegotiation of the 10-year memorandum of defense with Israel in the late 2010s, and rounding up support for a supplemental package to do $14 billion for Israel as they're under attack by Hamas and others. When I was rounding up support for that bill, my opponent was asking for a pause on all military aid to Israel in December of 2023. I hope what he has seen.
Why do I act like he's pretending? Well, because I don't know whether or not what he actually believes. But what I do know is that the reality of the situation is that, like, you cannot, as like a Democratic senator, go out there or Democratic member of Congress go out there and say, I don't support Israel's right to defend itself. You understand how that's like a political suicide move, right? Like every liberal is going to have their knives out for you. Like that's like there is the political reality that we have to deal with where that is the case. So what I'm saying is it is very similar in that regard to the do you condemn Hamas? It's just like a thing that you have to say. But it's also like a thing he might actually believe. A lot of people in Democratic circles do believe that. But like, I do think that there is a difference between, you know, sending munitions for like the Iron Dome defense system and sending 2,000-pound bombs. I think there's a big difference there. But a lot of people lump them together on the right and the left. So, again, it's a meaningless statement that is meant to mainly virtue signal.
Seen in subsequent months has led him to change his mind. We need to support our allies, and that's what I've done, and that's what I'm going to continue to do.
And Mr. Kaine, a follow-up now. Is there a situation where you would support putting U.S. troops on the ground in the Middle East? You have 30 seconds.
You can't write off what would happen if Iran or others would foolishly rage major attacks against.
This did take place 7 days ago, so the situation has changed a bit since this.
Against U.S. troops. What might you do in that circumstance? That was happening after President Trump tore up the Iran diplomacy deal. Iranian militias started to strike U.S. troops at positions in Iraq and Syria. Any attack on U.S. personnel, you would need to consider
Who are these goobers? This is Tim Kaine, Virginia senator, and this is Hung Cao, his challenger. We're watching their one and only televised debate for the election.
Significant response to punish those who did it. But other than that, the U.S. should not let anyone drag us into a war in the Middle East.
Thank you, Mr. Kaine. Mr. Cao, knowing that our posture has been to defend Israel, is there a point when the U.S. military shifts to an offensive policy against Iran? You have 60 seconds.
Okay. I want to ask everybody if you knew what happened on October 7th, 2001. That's the day we invaded Afghanistan because they took down the Twin Towers. Nobody at that time could have told us, hey, take it easy on the Taliban. When they come in the middle of the night...
Wait. People did tell you at the time, hey, we probably shouldn't invade Afghanistan. There were people who said that. And you know what? They were right. They were right. The second we left, they just took back over.
And they killed 1,200 people, and they rape women and young girls, and they throw babies in ovens. There should be no mercy. And when you're talking about either Hamas, Hezbollah, or the Houthis, they're all Iranian proxies. And why is Iran so emboldened now? Because they lifted up...
Yeah, that's an excellent point. The Taliban didn't even do 9/11. They were unrelated. The Saudi government is largely the ones responsible, and we're just good buddies with them.
all the sanctions, and they gave them all the money. So they have all the money in the world right now to wage war against us. Look, as a warrior, I'm the last person that wants to get back into war.
Wait, did he say October 7th? Did he literally get the date of 9/11 wrong? Sorry, I got so distracted by everything else he said that I missed that. It's in the name of the date. The date is the name of the event in America. It's just 9/11. September 11th, dude. How'd you get that wrong?
I've been in war for 20 years. I fought in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Somalia. The difference is that we have to stand by Israel. And he has basically held off on some of the weapons that are going to Israel, saying, you know, no offensive weapons. We can't tell them how to do things. I saw that in Vietnam when they said, hey,
we can't tell them how to do things? The fuck we can't? We're the ones sending them weapons. What do you mean? We can add restrictions on those, or just not send them. My guy, what do you? Oh, he said October 7th, 2001 was the date we invaded Afghanistan. Oh, okay, never mind.
It's not, it's like giving guns without ammunition. That's exactly what we're doing over there, and that's the difference. I will stand by our allies all the time.
But Mr. Cowell, would you support any point where putting U.S. troops on the ground in the Middle East is an option? 30 seconds.
What do you mean in the Middle East? If you're talking about Israel, Israel is so proud. They will never ask for American troops on the ground. They've never asked it. They've always fought their own battles, and they just want support from us. But
well, your question is silly because they would never ask that, you see.
When our friends are, when their friends or they think are their friends are giving them weapons and say, hey, you can't use it for this, you can't use it for that, that's what happens. Is you have weakness in the White House right now, and you have weakness in the Senate, and that's why they're doing what they're doing.
Thank you, Mr. Cowell. Now we're going to shift to cost of living. The economy is the top issue for Virginia voters, and we recently spoke with a woman shopping at the grocery store. Here's what she said.
I have to budget certain things that I'm not used to budgeting in order to get basic necessities like milk, bread, cheese, etc.
Mr. Cowell, Virginians on average are spending $1,100 more per month on the same everyday items they did in January of 2021. The Bureau of Labor Statistics says that amount is slightly higher than the national average. Mr. Cowell, please give us one specific policy you would prioritize to bring down costs. You have 60 seconds.
Okay, who else thought that after he said we spoke with a woman at the supermarket parking lot? I thought he was just gonna stop talking after he said we spoke with a woman. Just a woman. I thought he was done talking.
Right now we need to be energy independent. That is the crux of everything. If it costs more for a farm,
it's not. The reason things are more expensive is not because of gas prices.
Farmer to farm their land, it's going to cost also more for a trucker to bring it there. And what they've done is they've made us dependent on oil from countries that hate us.
We're not. We're the biggest oil producer on the planet.
Iran and Venezuela, these countries hate us in the Middle East. And we need to be energy independent in this country. And that means unleashing all the energy we can get in order to bring forth, American power.
Hey, here's an idea. How about we unleash the practically limitless amount of energy that's generated for free 24/7 by the sun? What if we did that? We have a gigantic fusion reactor that has billions of years of energy left. Why don't we unleash that power? Huh? What about that? I'm just spitballing here, but maybe that would be a good energy source to harvest instead of, a far more finite source of energy that we have to burn and expel gas into the atmosphere in order to harness. Okay, Icarus. Look, all I'm saying is we have the ability right now to make, power satellites. I think we should probably do that. I think we should probably have, the ability to harvest energy, from the sun and prioritize that. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. No wind, no solar, just nuclear. Nuclear is fine. Fusion's great. But also, we already have a gigantic fusion reactor in space. We could like do a shitty Dyson sphere today if we wanted to. It'd be a shitty Dyson sphere, but we could do it. We have the technology. It's just the scale of production.
You know, I heard him say at a forum a couple weeks ago that, you know,
we'll call it the Muskball at you.
And wind are more efficient than nuclear power. Like, can you imagine one of our aircraft carriers out there on wind power? I mean, what do you want? Put sails on there? Look,
Yeah, actually, yeah. Yeah, unironically, yes. We could do that.
I'm a warrior by trade, but also I'm an engineer and a physicist. I'm telling you right now, that's wrong. Nuclear power is the most clean and efficient form of energy out there, and we need to explore more of that in Virginia, and we need to be energy independent and stop being dependent on other countries.
So to clarify, that would be your one policy, energy independence?
Yes.
All right, thank you, Mr.
Yeah, sailboats have always been a thing, but also we have a bunch of wind energy technologies that we can use on like commercial-sized shipping container vessels. Like, we've been testing them out. They're a thing that already exist.
Mr. Kao. Another follow-up now, Mr. Kao. If elected, former President Donald Trump has promised to tax all imported items. Would you support that policy? You have 30 seconds.
Why are our industries
being
pushed out? Basically, we put so many regulations on industry that we're forced to send it outwards. We have the cleanest.
Dude just talked about how the price of fuel is making everything more expensive, and also inflation makes everything more expensive. But he's now going to try and justify like a 20% tariff on like, I don't know, 80% of the goods that people consume on a daily basis.
Practice in America, including oil production, right? But then we push it out to other countries, and we add on this Inflation Reduction Act, and you know, it's really clean, you know, green energy. And what we need to do is not tax our industry here. What we need to do is tax other countries bringing in goods, because our people are getting taxed here and when they bring it abroad as well.
Thank you, Mr. Kao. Mr. Kaine. Mr. Kao just criticized the economy earlier.
Oh, also, here. World's first wind-powered cargo ship. A lot of people made fun of this story, but like, I don't know, I think this is really neat, actually.
A big red cargo ship fitted with steel and composite glass wings has set sail.
God, I hate this AI bullshit video.
On its maiden voyage from China to Brazil. The Pyxis Ocean, a 750-foot-long bulk carrier, is the first vessel to deploy wind wings, which can stand up to 123 feet tall and are made from the same durable material as wind turbines. The prototype devices could potentially curb the ship's diesel fuel consumption and its resulting greenhouse gas emissions by roughly 1/5. Cargill announced the voyage after the Pyxis Ocean completed its first leg across the South China Sea from Shanghai to Singapore. Cargill is chartering the vessel, which can carry up to 81,000 metric tons of grain, corn, and other food products around the world. The large rectangular wings generally work like traditional canvas sails, by harnessing wind to propel the vessel and lessen the workload of the diesel engines. But instead of sailors raising or furling sails, the rigid windwings mechanically rotate and spin. They also fold down while at port and lift back up while at sea. Wind power is making a comeback within the global shipping industry as companies look to reduce and replace their use of dirty diesel fuel.
Also, I'm just spitballing here, but if you have like a more rigid frame structure like this, it would be ideal for like solar panels. Like you could make this into like a type of like both sail. You could also maybe add like actual wind turbine parts to this. Like the one that I showed earlier, like a minute or so ago. And you could also put like solar panels on this. You could, in fact, do a lot of really cool things with this.
This week's voyage is the latest example of shipowners and multinational customers.
Yeah, that's the cool part, Narodia. This can also be retrofitted onto existing ships, and that's part of what makes it really cool, because you could effectively reduce global emissions from all shipping by about 20%.
Customers retrofitting vessels with high-tech versions of an ancient clean energy technology, including Airsea's towing kite, Norsepower's spinning rotor sails, and Mitsui OSK Line's telescoping hard sail. Bulk carriers, container ships, and other ocean-going vessels burn hundreds of millions of tons of fossil fuels every year to carry trillions of dollars worth of goods across the ocean. As a result, international shipping contributes around 3% of the world's annual greenhouse gas emissions, a figure that's expected to climb as more oil-guzzling ships make more voyages in the coming years. Last month, the United Nations agency...
That's neat. And we don't have to watch this entire video.
Did talk about energy independence as well. Earlier, we heard from the Virginia shopper who said that her grocery budget is strained. Please give us at least one policy that you support to help struggling Americans. You have 60 seconds.
First, Virginians do not like being misled. And when my opponent says we need to be energy independent, he forgot to mention
the only oil we need to be producing more of is on the oil fields of riverboat.gg/live. Bingus Baba Booby.
Bingus Baba Booey. Baba Booby. Thank you very much for the $5 dono, Gamer G. I really appreciate it. And true, we need some of that big BWA energy, folks. This hyper techno-futuristic thing seems unnecessary, though. Just get some big canvas. The thing is, we need more than canvas for modern ships. It doesn't just work with the canvas. We need better. We need better, and also we don't have as many sailors as we used to, so we need to like have more independent mechanized options. Plus, this way you can again have like the benefits of electricity generation via wind and solar. Like there's a lot of additional benefits to having it mechanized.
America is producing more domestic energy.
I mean, if like make more sailors, well, let's just go back to wooden shipping boats then.
Than at any time in the nation's history. And the good news is the production is, yes, nuclear, which I support, natural gas,
based.
Which I support, but also wind and...
Not based. Nuclear is based. Natural gas, not based.
And solar, and that is making a huge difference in the economy right here in Hampton Roads with the Chesapeake announcement of Greenlink building a manufacturing facility here. We are the energy leaders in the world because of these policies. What would I do on inflation? First, COVID-19 was a sledgehammer to the global economy, disrupting all supply chains, and every nation had inflation problems. Our economy has rebounded faster than virtually any, and inflation is coming down. The Fed just dropped interest rates and is signifying that they're going to do it again. What would I do? Let's continue to invest in clean energy that's affordable. Let's continue to bring down costs on prescription drugs for seniors. And let's continue to provide American adults with relief from student loan debts. That's three things I have done. I'll do more.
Yeah, but like, I know we can make the natural gas, but burning the natural gas is still bad for the environment. It's cleaner than burning like coal. But we should really just move to not burning natural gas or coal or oil and instead move to better stuff. We have better options.
My opponent has opposed all three of those things.
Mr. Kaine, thank you. Deanna.
Thanks, Tom. Mr. Kaine, Vice President Kamala Harris promised to enact the first ever federal ban on so-called price gouging if elected. Does price gouging exist on groceries and other necessities? You have 30 seconds.
Deanna, I'm glad you asked that because Governor Youngkin just the other day warned against price gouging in Virginia in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. Attorney General Miyares has warned and said we have tools at our disposal in the state to go against those who would price gouge, especially during a challenging time. So yes, whether it's through the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, by regulation, or whether it's by legislation that Congress should pass, we should look at instances of price gouging. The other thing we should do is not embrace Trump tariffs. The Trump tariffs would be a massive tax that would cause prices on all these items that are imported to go up. On that, I differ strongly from my opponent who seems to think that...
Well, yeah, of course he has, like, again, it's similar. Like, there are certain things when you are running as a politician that you have to say. One of the things is that you support workers in industries in your state, even if they are objectively, like, contributing to, like, the destruction of the environment. You know, like, people want to know that their jobs are secure. You know, again, it's a virtue signal. It's one of those things you have to say as a politician, but, like, we should move away from natural gas, though. It's better than coal. It's better than gasoline. But it's still pretty bad.
The Trump tariff plan makes great sense.
Mr. Kaine, you just said that you wanted to look into instances of price gouging. Are you able to name a company in Virginia that is price gouging currently? You have 15 seconds.
I cannot name one right now, but I was just in Appalachia, and I was with the law enforcement officials in Pulaski County visiting damage there. And they're talking about the fact that they already see people coming in and trying to take advantage of those who have been suffering when it comes to building materials and other things that they need to get their lives back on track. That's why Governor Youngkin, Attorney General Miyares, and Vice President Harris have all said price gouging is real and we need the tools to deal with it.
Also, we should move away from using natural gas stoves. I'm sorry, folks. I've looked into it. One, the gas leaks into the environment, and that's no good. But two, it fills your house, your apartment, your kitchen with, like, cancer gas. Essentially, like, it's bad. It's really bad for you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kaine. We have to move on to housing affordability.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Cow. Moving now to housing costs, as I mentioned.
Carbon monoxide, but also I think it's benzene. Benzene. Oh. Yeah. We've talked about it. The benzene will get you.
Recent census data shows nearly 1 in 5 homeowners and half of renters in Virginia spent more than the recommended 30% of their incomes on housing. Mr. Kaine, in a state like Virginia, where a typical home costs $440,000, do you believe additional federal support is needed to help current renters achieve home ownership? You have 60 seconds.
Deanna, great question. Let me tackle it a couple of different ways. I want to bring down the cost of rent, and I also want to bring down the cost of purchasing a home. Here's how you do both. On the rental side, there is a very strong federal program called the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit. There is a bill currently pending in the Senate that was passed in the House with a bipartisan vote to expand the low-income housing tax credit. I strongly support that, and I'm a co-sponsor of that effort. On this,
I mean, that seems like a pretty common sense solution for people at the bottom of the economic spectrum. But, like, man, if you don't qualify for that credit, though, you're still paying out the nose for rent, man.
Senate side, sometimes the right thing to do is create a new program, but when you have one that works, just do more of it. On home ownership, I support what the Vice President has indicated about federal assistance for down payments for those who are buying their first homes. The Fed dropping the interest rate is also going to
First True Virgin, thank you for the 200 biddies. You can pry my gas stove from my cold, dead hands, which I cannot feel right now. Anyone else smell toast?
Free up some financing for first-time home buyers. A lot of people in their first homes now, they don't want to move to a second home because they're not going to be able to get as good an interest rate on their mortgage. With interest rates coming down, they can move, and that will open up a lot of starter homes for families that are looking to buy the first home. So those would be the three things I would do.
Thank you, Mr. Kaine. Some of those things you named might take a bit of time to shake out, and historically several Virginia cities have ranked in the top 10 for evictions in America. So
I you know, like on the one hand, okay, like that's a kind of okay solution, sort of, maybe, but it's like such a small
I know.
solution.
Put water turbines on the outside of the ship so it generates power as it moves. Yes, I am high.
Yeah, yes, you are, Catalina Gearbox. Thank you for the $5 dono. I appreciate it, but something tells me that might not work the way you think it would. But yeah, no. Oh God. The issue here is that maybe we should have a better solution than just hope that better interest rates will increase the turnover of entry-level homes, because as someone who's looked at homes, okay? Not that I can afford them, but you know, like, you know, sometimes when you're in your 30s, you start looking at Zillow because it's kind of fun. Anyway, you will notice that a lot of the entry-level homes get bought up. They get bought up by, like, corporate landlords to rent out as Airbnbs. Or they get bought up, renovated very cheaply, and then put back into the market for $100,000 more than what they were initially bought for. Like, the house flipping industry is absolutely insane right now. Like, the entry-level houses are being made unattainable because everyone's not, like, when these people buy houses to then sell, they're looking to flip them for a huge profit. They're looking to sell them to people who are already looking to buy their second house. So, like, the entry for new people to buy houses has gotten so slim. Like, it's such a narrow opening. A lot of people, even if they're making, like, kind of middle class income, cannot afford to buy a home. It just, like, so I don't think his solution actually provides much relief for a lot of first-time buyers. I think instead it provides a lot of opportunity for people who are in the house flipping business.
How would you help keep renters in their homes now? You have 30 seconds.
Again, I think the low-income housing tax credit is the best program we have, but it is the case. Virginia has some tough landlord-tenant laws that in the past have led to high eviction rates in Virginia. We've got members of the General Assembly here, and I'm very proud of efforts that they have made in the last few years to change the landlord-tenant laws to reduce eviction rates. I think those efforts at the state level are showing success. There's other things we can do. I have a bill that would guarantee to any veteran that they could get a housing voucher so we would have no veterans homelessness in the country. So there are things at the state level that need to be done, but there's also smart federal strategies that work that I support.
Thank you, Mr. Kaine. Mr. Cowell, on the same subject, America is currently...
Okay, just, I don't want to get into it. I don't want to get too sidetracked into it, but I see the discussion about, like, nuclear power in chat. I understand the reticence, but think of it this way, okay? The amount of landmass that has been rendered inhospitable to human life due to, like, nuclear reactor meltdowns, stuff that is almost impossible to recreate today with modern technology, by the way. Situations that have been rendered obsolete. But the amount of landmass that has been rendered inhospitable is, in global terms, very, very, very small. In contrast, if we keep on the path that we are currently on, up to 40% of Earth's landmass might be rendered uninhabitable. So that's kind of what we're up against here. And when people are like, well, nuclear, it has downsides. It certainly has downsides. But one of the upsides is that, hey, maybe 40% of our planet wouldn't be rendered uninhabitable. I don't know. If you're curious, here's a paper on it. Projected future climatic forcing of the global distribution of vegetation types.
Currently short 5.5 million homes. What policy would you support to increase the housing supply? You have 60 seconds.
Again, one of the things we have in this, the problem we have right now is that
Kane's crushing it in this debate, by the way. He's actually proposing, he actually has policies ready to throw out there. I don't think this guy does.
Paying $1 billion a day to feed and house illegal aliens in this country. We're taking care of them better than we've taken care of Americans. We need to be medevacing a lot of these Americans that they're homeless right now due to Hurricane Helene, and we need to put them into the hotels and getting.
We do. That's actually what we do in disaster scenarios.
Getting room service instead of giving it to illegal aliens. And my fear with what Kamala Harris wants to do with unrealized gains is if my house goes up in Zillow, it's just go up in Zillow, but then I don't have that money in my pocket, and she.
But Kamala Harris's policy on taxation for unrealized gains doesn't apply to you. If your house is under $1 million. Hell, it probably doesn't even apply to you if your house is under $2 million. The taxation on unrealized gains is for, stock traders and corporations that are playing the stock market, not on mom and pop in their retirement home.
She wants to tax that. And that's exactly what's going on right now is, one of the great things about being an American is the freedom, and the second thing is ownership. Okay? A lot of countries don't allow you to own the lands. And what they're doing right now is they want to push you out of ownership of your home, and so only corporations.
A lot of countries don't allow you to own land. What are you talking about, dog?
And very rich people can buy it. And that's what I want to fight against.
You are literally being supported by the very rich people who want to buy out the poors from their homes.
Well, Mr. Kahl, thank you so much for responding. But I'm looking to see what policy you would support that would increase the housing supply. You have 30 seconds.
Again, in Northern Virginia, where I live, there's a lot of, the cost of living is very, very high. But if we can build affordable housing further south and have more VREs and mass transit to bring people up there to work at these, in the Northern Virginia area, then that's how we're going to solve the problem.
Thank you, Mr. Kahl. Moving on now to immigration. Tom will have the next set of questions.
Thank you, Deanna. Mr. Kahl, you've supported removing undocumented immigrants who have committed violent crime. Do you support mass deportation of all undocumented immigrants? You have 60 seconds.
Immigration is very near and dear to my heart. When Vietnam fell, we had nowhere to go, and America had brought us in. And my parents waited in line for 7 years. We all did, for 7 years to get our citizenship. The last thing that my dad had hang over his bed when he passed away 2 years ago was his naturalization certificate. I love this country so much that I wrote a blank check up to and including my life to defend it for 25 years in Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia, and other parts of the world.
Yeah. Was Somalia about to invade the United States? What? Was Iraq about to invade the United States? What? Was Afghanistan about to do that? I don't know about that one, guy. Yeah, the imminent Somalian invasion. Unfortunately, I just realized that as I was saying that in jest, unfortunately, there are Republicans that would classify America taking in Somalian refugees as an invasion. So I need to clarify that that's not what I meant, because Republicans are so goddamn racist that they just keep calling any time black and brown people come to the United States an invasion. Because again, they live in a completely different reality from us.
So here's my thing to anybody who wants to come here. Don't ask for the American dream if you're not willing to debate American laws and embrace the American culture, because I did. And so that's the number one criteria coming into this country. If you come here illegally, then you need to leave, especially if you're a violent crime person. We just found out.
Especially if you're a violent crime person? Well, yeah, I'm sure they'll get right on that. I'm sure the violent crime people hear your message and will get right on that. Also, violent crime people, famous for not being arrested and sent to prison? Like, what if someone murders someone, are we not sending them to prison? Are we instead just deporting them somewhere else? Like, did they not go to prison? I'm confused. What is your plan here? How are you going to deport millions of people? I want to know your logistical plan. As a trans autistic person, I want to know about what your transit plans are for all of those people. Are you going to put them into trains? Going to put them packed into trains like sardines? Because that kind of seems like what you want to do. Sounds like you're looking for a final solution.
Last week, there are 13,000 convicted murders and 16,000 convicted rapists that came across under their watch. That's unacceptable. We need to protect Americans every single day.
Convicted by whom? Convicted by whom? Convicted in their home country? Convicted in the United States? Source?
And that's what I did.
Thank you, Mr. Cowell. But the question, do you support mass deportation of all documented immigrants?
Thank you, Mr. Cowell, but could you please answer the fucking question?
That was the question asked. You have 30 seconds to respond.
If you came here illegally, you're basically screwing up the whole system. There's people that are waiting in line, like my family, for 7 years for their naturalization papers. And so you can't jump the line.
Okay, but you waited 7 years in the United States, right? Because you talked about being evacuated from Vietnam, right? So your family waited in the US for 7 years before you got your naturalization papers. You didn't get deported back to Vietnam, did you? I'm not familiar with his life story. Someone in stream, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on that one. But that doesn't seem to be how his story goes. I feel like if that was his story, he'd talk about how it was completely fair and just for his family to be deported to Vietnam.
I mean, if you go to Costco and you jump the line, what do you think is going to happen? You know? And so that's the thing. You can't...
What? Wait, what happens to you at Costco? What is this? What world does he live in? Dog? What do you think's gonna happen if you jump the line at Costco? I don't know. I don't think they deport you for that, though. I don't think they call the cops.
come here and expect the American dream if you're not willing to obey the American laws and embrace the American culture.
You pay the
That's what I
ultimate
do.
price. Death! The Costco snipers get you for a very reasonable price.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Cow. The policy of mass deportations, though, that you support, if they result in additional violence and
Hey, Ms.
unrest, how
Genderland.
should the government respond?
My dude, thank you for the raid.
There's violence and unrest now. Look at Aurora, Colorado. Look at all the other places in the world where MS-13.
Oh, God, the Aurora, Colorado. Guys, this is why I put out that video like a week and a half ago about the awful reporting on the Aurora, Colorado gang story, okay? On how it's so unconscionable to me that TYT has still not retracted that story or corrected it. It is truly disgusting to me how far the Aurora gang, Venezuelan gangs are taking over Aurora apartment complexes. We have no idea how many buildings have been taken, and there's nothing we can do about it because woke liberals say it'd be racist to stop them from taking over buildings. And then you like interview like the people who live there, and they're like, yeah, the only criminals here are landlords who are criminally not upholding their landlord duties. And that's why several apartments in the area owned by them got shut down. They're just trying to avoid legal liability for how they treat us. But ignore that, it's the gangs taking over the buildings.
Gangs are coming across. Fentanyl, it's already happening. It's already happening in our country. Deport anybody that's committing crimes right now. That's the first thing. We need to secure the border. We need to deport anybody that's already over here or committing crimes, and stop giving $1 billion a day, and that includes gift cards that they're giving them, and plane tickets anywhere, and a cell phone, and then enforce the E-Verify. If they don't get paid to do their jobs, then they will self-deport.
They have to make their court dates, dude. Otherwise, they get deported. What? Yeah, they come here. We provide them marginal amounts of assistance so that they don't die and can like get a job someplace. And when they're here via the legal process of seeking like my brain's saying amnesty, but that's not right. Asylum. If they're here under that legal process, like that's what we do. They're not here illegally. Asylum seekers are legally here. You have to be in the country to seek asylum.
Thank you, Mr. Cow. Mr. Kane.
Yeah, 94% make their court dates, and the ones that don't get deported. Like that's how that works.
Since President Joe Biden took office, at least 10 million undocumented migrants have crossed the border. Would you support granting amnesty to those already in the country today? You have 60 seconds.
My opponent wouldn't answer your question on tariffs, and he wouldn't answer your question on the longshoremen, but he did answer your question on mass deportation. He's in favor of the mass deportation of more than 10 million people, which would devastate the economy. I have support.
I mean, it would devastate the economy and also be literally Hitlerian in its scope. Like, there's no way to deport 10 million people that wouldn't involve concentration camps. And honestly, with people like Donald Trump in charge, high-profile politicians asking for a cheaper solution than just flying them out of the country or driving them out of the country. Like, let's be real here. We get a lot closer to just genocide. We get a lot closer to that. It's already an ethnic cleansing event. Also, Hypoloid, thank you for getting a tier 1 sub. I really appreciate that, and thank you for supporting the channel. We're still pretty small, so you really make a difference when you support me. I really appreciate it.
Supported strong immigration policy since I came to the Senate in 2013. One of the first bills we had was a bill, comprehensive immigration reform, that included $45 billion of border security investment. The Republican House killed the bill after it was passed in the Senate by a bipartisan supermajority. In 2018, I cobbled together a bill $25 billion in border security in exchange for protection for Dreamers. President Trump said that he would support it, but when the Senate introduced the bill in a bipartisan fashion, he told those to kill it. We recently negotiated a very tough border deal that would have put a lot of resources on the border to stop illegal immigration. President Trump asked for Republicans to oppose it, even though it was supported by the Border Control Union. And when asked why he was opposing it, President Trump says, "We don't want to fix this problem. We want to complain about the problem." As soon as we get Republicans that are willing to work for common sense immigration reform, we can keep.
You know, I do have to say, I hate the bill that he's stumping for here, but the fact that Republicans did reject it is a major win for Democrats.
Folks from coming here illegally, and we can also have the workforce that America needs, because we won't have it without immigration reform.
Thank you, Mr. Kaine. But the question was, do you support granting amnesty to those already here?
I've never supported amnesty.
Boo! Boo! Give them amnesty and a pathway to citizenship. Boo!
Thank you, Mr. Kaine. Mr. Kaine, one more question. What you have proposed would require significant funding. You talked about the Dreamers, you talked about other programs. How do you propose paying for this? You have 30 seconds.
Tom, I'm glad you asked me that question, because the Congressional Budget Office and others indicate that one of the few things that Congress can do that will increase the GDP of this nation without really costing much money is immigration reform. Why? Because if we do an immigration reform that allows people to come here and work, they will pay taxes, they'll contribute to the Social Security Trust Fund, their productivity. Families like my opponents and families like mine who came here from Ireland in the 1850s, they will help grow the economy. Immigration reform might be the one best thing that could be done by Congress to expand the American economy. We need to protect the border, and we need to have the workforce that America needs going into the future.
Thank you, Mr. Kaine. Now on the topic of reparations, I'm going to start with Mr. Kaine. 405 years ago, the White Lion slave ship docked with dozens of enslaved people just miles from where we sit here at Norfolk State, now starting the slave industry in what is now the United States. Vice President and Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris did support some form of reparations in 2019 as a senator. Mr. Kaine, would you support some form of it for today's descendants of the enslaved? You have 45 seconds.
Senator Cory Booker has a bill that would look at this question of whether those who descended from those who were brought here as slaves should be entitled to some form of assistance because of the generations of denying their families the ability to accumulate wealth. I think the best thing we can do to try to eliminate persistent inequalities is focus on education. I have been a proud backer of funding for HBCUs like Norfolk State, helping this university get funding for STEM careers for students, helping HBCUs be able to...
I mean, getting more funding for historically black colleges is good. I don't know that it really gets to the heart of the question, though.
Start medical schools to expand the medical profession, helping HBCUs train the next generation of classroom teachers. So I actually think the best strategy to deal with persistent inequities is educational support, and have always supported those efforts and will continue to.
I mean, this isn't a terrible answer, but it's also not nearly enough. Like, if that was the only thing you're doing to try and like level the playing field a bit, like it's not nearly enough. Like, we need to address a lot of other inequities in our society.
Mr. Kaine, thank you. Mr. Cowell, same question to you. Would you support some form of reparations for today's descendants of the enslaved? You have 45 seconds.
Our country needs to heal, and we can't keep healing if we keep picking at the scabs. When I came to this country, my mom said, they can take away your money, they can take away your position in life, but they can never take away the knowledge in your head. That's why.
You know, I feel like comparing reparations to picking at a scab is in really poor taste in a way that's difficult for me to articulate. But I would say that ain't it.
Why we push education so hard. And education is the only equalizer out here. And that's why I want to make sure that all Americans have that ability to go to school. I mean, there's a lot of...
Well, here's the thing. Notice his weasel words here. He wants to ensure that all Americans have the ability to go to school. And it's like, yeah, all Americans have the ability to go to school. Can you actually go to school, though? That's the question. Like, you might have the ability. Do you have the means? Those are two different things. New from Tommy's raid, that cow, oof. Oh, yeah, he's got his MAGA marching orders all right, and it just shows how out of touch the entire MAGA movement is. Because, like, I think he's perfectly in tune with the average MAGA voter, and they just live in a completely different reality than we do, you know? One that is not at all, like, tethered to reality.
Issues, right?
Tethered to the real world, to measurable empirical data.
Now with schools, I mean, the tuition keeps going up. Look at NSU. Since he came in office, the tuition at NSU has tripled. What I want to do is bring it down to 0% interest and, you know, just allow for students to go to school and get an education to get themselves out. And there's other larger schools, not NSU, but larger schools that have huge endowments. They should be the ones that co-sign for these loans. But again, it shouldn't be the American people, and I want to make...
Why? Why, like, genuine question, why shouldn't it be the American people? Right? Like, why, like, the American people at large, you know, white people, benefited from slavery. Like, we profited off of, like, hundreds of years of unpaid labor done by millions of people. The least we can do is start trying to pay that back in some form or fashion. You know, it doesn't have to be the form of direct payments. It can be in the form of, like, community assistance programs. It can be in the form of investing in Black communities. It can be in the form of a lot of, like, collective action on the part of the government. But, like, to say the American people don't have a responsibility for that, like, I don't know. I think we kind of do.
Make sure this country moves forward and heals.
My opponent also forgot to mention that he wants to abolish the Department of Education.
Okay, Tim got him. Tim got him good there. Oh my God. Oh my God. Talking about the importance of education and big educational institutions, and then being hit with that? Oh my God.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Just absolutely destroyed, dog. Just.
Not only can you take a load, you can take the ultimate load.
That is on his website. That's a plan he supports. That would hurt
Mr.
students
Kaine,
at Norfolk State and all over this country.
We will get to education a little bit later on, but thank you, Mr. Cow.
We do have so much more to discuss with the candidates. So for those of you watching at home or here with us live, stick around. We'll be back after this quick break.
Oh man, we've got like the pre-mission, like a Fire Emblem pre-mission interlude here. I like it. Mission start. Oh man, I was really hoping we'd get more.
And welcome back to our debate. I am Tom Shad.
I'm Deanna Albritton from WRIC in Richmond, Virginia.
We wanted to clarify one thing. Mr. Kaine did speak about education in that last segment. We made a mistake by not giving Mr. Cow a chance to respond to what Mr. Kaine had said. Mr. Cow, please.
Again, with Department of Education, that's what belongs to the states.
Sean Smith, no Silent Hill 2 stream happening this October, but we will play other spooky games.
Okay, not to the federal government. The federal government, look, they screw up everything they touch. Let's be honest with you. You know,
you're going to work for the federal government. What do you mean? They screw up everything they touch, except for all of my work benefits, my health benefits, my office, my health care. They don't screw up all of that, but they screw it up for all of you. Don't believe any of the benefits I receive. They don't screw up my paycheck. Entrama, thank you for the 47 months of being subscribed. One more month and it's gonna be 4 goddamn years. Guys, did you know it's been 4 years since I launched the YouTube? The YouTube channel for Riverboat Jack? It's been 4 years. I got that alert earlier today. Isn't that crazy? Entrama, you've been subscribed on Twitch for almost as long as my YouTube channel has existed. It's crazy. Thank you so much for joining me on the journey. Hope you're doing okay, by the way. I know you're super, super busy.
the federal government, I mean, a lot of the Board of Education, or I'm sorry, the Secretary of Education, the Department of Education, they only pay for things like the teachers' unions. They're not really pushing out what they need to be pushing for the states. Each state knows what they need to take care of for their own personal states.
Leaving education in the state was what led to school segregation. The Supreme Court in Brown versus Board of Education had to say that from a federal law perspective, states could not discriminate against students. You can't leave education just to the states, because if you do, we've seen it and we don't want to go back.
Mr. Kane, thank you. We will get to education later. Now we'll go to military recruiting with Deanna.
Thank you, Tom. Mr. Cowell, we're going to start with you on this one. The Department of Defense says during the last...
Remember when 20 viewers was huge? Yeah, and right now we're sitting at like... 240 plus... We're sitting at like... We're sitting at like 350 viewers right now. So you all better hit the follow button and the subscribe button and like the stream.
Fiscal year.
Oh boy, it's this part. Wait, you guys know this? You guys know this debate? No spoilerinos.
The military services collectively missed recruiting goals by about 41,000 recruits. Mr. Cowell, you have stated, quote, this administration has a growing obsession with DEI. It's no wonder we have a military recruiting problem.
Oh,
Can you
boy.
please explain how you believe diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts have impacted military recruiting efforts? You have 30 seconds.
Dude. I already sensed the tremors in the force on this one, dog.
9/11 changed my life like it did a lot of military people. You know, I deployed to invade Iraq when my wife was 8 months pregnant with our first child. I didn't know if I'd ever meet him. And we did that because we love this country so much. And watching Afghanistan fall broke my heart. They turned their backs on our military people. They turned their backs on all of our allies out there. And what they did in COVID-19 was irrepressible. I mean, what they did is they kicked out tens of thousands of military people that refused to take a COVID vaccine. So if you're a military person or a young person wanting to go in the military, would you trust a military or a government that would turn your back on them just for an experimental vaccine?
Thank you.
What did Ed... I really want a moderator to just be like, what the fuck did that have to do with the question, though?
Mr. Cowell, but could you please explain how you believe diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts specifically are hampering military recruiting? You have 15 seconds.
Again, when you're using a drag queen to recruit for the Navy, that's not the people we want.
Dude, that's like what we've done for the Navy since like World War II? Are you familiar with people in the Navy? Like one of the most famous photos from World War II that's made the rounds recently is literally this photo, which is of British soldiers on a naval vessel that were caught in the middle of a drag show and had to go and man the guns during an attack. Like they did it in drag. So literally, what's your point?
Look, what we need is alpha males and alpha females who are going to rip out their own guts, eat them, and ask for seconds.
What does that? We need alpha males and alpha females. I really want a follow-up question about what does that mean?
Those are males and alpha females who are going to rip out their own guts, eat them, and ask for seconds.
Why would you want soldiers that do that? What? Okay, just pause here, okay? Because it sounds real tough at first blush. Oh yeah, someone who's so tough that they'll rip out their own guts and eat them and then ask for more. That sounds really tough. But like, wait a minute, if you have soldiers that are ripping out their guts, they're going to die. Why would you want soldiers that are that stupid?
Those are young men and women that are going to win wars.
We want an army that that will all commit seppuku, okay? We want soldiers that are doing ritual suicide. What are you talking about?
Please.
How did you get applause for that? What's wrong with these people? How?
Please, audience, please quiet down.
Dog, America's so cooked. The fascist movement. The fascist movement is gaining strength, and we really need to put an end to it with this election cycle before we empower fascists even more. Okay, dog? Like, right now, like, Tim Kaine is not an ideal candidate. He's not saying the things I, a socialist, want to hear a politician say. But you know what? He's not a fascist who's saying insane gibberish like that. You know? My God.
Audience, please. Remember, we did ask for limited...
Yeah, the entire audience is coming down with a case of ligma.
For no reaction to the candidates so that we can get through as many topics tonight as possible. Thank you, Mr. Cao. Mr. Kaine, your opponent is saying DEI is to blame for low recruitment. Why do you think the military doesn't have enough recruits? You have 30 seconds.
Well, I didn't understand my opponent's argument. I mean, he went all around the block, and I'm not really sure what his point was about DEI. I respect his military service. I'm the father of a United States Marine Infantry Commander veteran. I respect all who serve. I serve on the Armed Services Committee, chairman of the Sea Power Subcommittee. I think what we're finding is it's hard to get people to serve. In the all-volunteer military, only 1% serve. Many people don't even know anyone in the military. We have to reach out to new constituencies and new groups. We also have to convince people the benefits of military service are enormous. People feel like if they serve in the military, they'll fall behind. No, you'll zoom ahead because of benefits like the GI Bill and others. And finally, we need to work on innovative programs such as the Army is working on right now to help young people kind of pre-qualify to pass the physical exams and then have a long and productive career serving our country.
So, Mr. Kaine, just to clarify, you are saying that you believe not enough Americans understand the benefits of the military, and that is what is hampering recruitment.
DEI is a red herring.
I mean, DEI is a red herring, but like that's about as close as he can get to saying the actual truth, which is that our volunteer military largely relies on economically desperate people looking for a way out of their desperate circumstances. Like, and if you make those desperate people more aware of the benefits they receive from joining the military, more of them would join. That's what he's saying.
We do we do surveys of families to see about people's willingness to serve. And it turns out they're not serving because they're afraid, and they're not serving because they're not patriotic. They're not serving because they don't believe military service will advance the rest of their life. They feel like they'll get off track and their colleagues will zoom ahead of them. So we need to do a better job of talking about GI Bill and other benefits, as well as the tremendous leadership training that you get in the military. My son received superb leadership training that is going to benefit him for the rest of his life. But if you don't know someone in the military, you might not understand that. And that's what we need to do to communicate better. And when we do, we'll have more people signing up to serve their country.
Thank you, Mr. Kaine. Please hold your applause, everyone. Please hold your applause. Mr. Kaine, looking at guns in America, in the past, you have supported buyback programs for firearm accessories, but are there any circumstances under which you would support mandatory buybacks for firearms specifically? You have 45 seconds.
I have not supported mandatory buybacks, and I can't see a circumstance where I would. If we can offer incentives, that's a good thing, not a mandate. The Second Amendment gives people right to have arms. The Second Amendment also, and the Supreme Court has said, reasonable limitations are accepted. And that's why I have supported reasonable limitations, such as one handgun a month or a ban on high-capacity magazines.
I mean, I feel like that's fair. I feel like you don't need to buy multiple handguns a month.
Or comprehensive background checks. The worst day of my life was the day when I was governor and there was the tragic shooting at Virginia Tech. 32 people, innocent people, faculty members killed. And they were killed because we didn't have a comprehensive background check system that would have stopped that mentally disturbed young man from buying a weapon that he was not authorized to have. That is the most important thing we can do to bring down gun violence in the country. There's been good work done at the state level. We need to do comprehensive background checks at the federal level, and if we do, we will see gun violence reduce.
Thank you, Mr. Kaine.
I mean, again, like this type of reform to gun ownership, gun purchasing, it is quite literally supported by like 70 or 80% of the American public. Like this is not a controversial thing and should be implemented. It should have been implemented like 15 years ago.
Mr. Kahl, continuing to look at gun laws, your opponent, Mr. Kaine, co-authored a federal bill that could charge parents or guardians with a violent felony when their children use their guns to commit crimes, especially those that harm others. Here's our question to you. Do you support sending parents to prison when a child uses their parent's gun to commit a crime? You have 45 seconds.
I do. But here's the issue we have in this country right now. You can't legislate morality. And no new law is going to stop a person hell-bent on trying to assassinate a former president or shooting up a school. What we need more is SROs in all the public schools in Virginia, as well as mental health and crisis counselors, not in just the schools, but also the police departments and sheriff's offices. What Senator Kaine wants to do is introduce more laws that will restrict Americans from buying guns. Instead of doing background checks on illegal aliens that are coming across this country, 13,000 convicted murders, 16,000 convicted rapists that have come across under his watch. Let's do background checks on them.
Just to clarify, just in case folks didn't hear you, you did say yes, you do support that. Okay, just wanted to make sure. And now we're going to move on to education costs. Tom.
Okay, thank you. Senator Kaine, you have supported the Biden administration's attempts at student loan forgiveness. So why do you believe that people who made the choice...
Yeah, exactly, Josh. Like common sense gun control has been supported by the majority of Americans, and honestly, the majority of gun owners for a long time. This is not new, and it should all be stuff that we passed like 15 to 20 years ago.
To take out student loans should receive taxpayer support to relieve their debt. You have 60 seconds.
So first, let's talk about public service loan forgiveness. There have been public service loan forgiveness programs in place since the first Bush administration. But they weren't.
Honestly, the one thing that I would like to see mainstreamed about like when it comes to like gun control issues I would love to see like a nationalized gun buyback program. I think that would be really good. You know, give it plenty of funding, allow us to buy back guns and take them out of circulation. I think that would be a really, really good thing to do when it comes to the sheer number of guns circulating in American culture. I think a lot of people would take advantage of that. I think a lot of people would actually engage with such a program in a way that's probably constructive and good for various communities.
Being used. And in fact, the past administration wasn't approving public service loan forgiveness. The Biden administration has taken those programs and has forgiven the loans of more than 1 million public servants in thanks for the public service they provide, whether it's in the military, whether it's teaching, whether it's working as a frontline health professional or working for a local or state government. I think that is a powerful strategy to lift costs off everyday people's shoulders and to provide an incentive for people to go into public service professions. That has been the heart of the Biden-Harris administration's loan forgiveness program, and I strongly, strongly support it. Because if you go to school and then you commit your life to public service, I think that is a very worthy cause, and I think loan forgiveness under those circumstances makes perfect sense. It's also good for the economy, because when you lift the burden off people's shoulders to pay back loans, they're able to buy a house or buy a car or spend more money in their communities.
Mr. Kaine, thank you. Mr. Kahl.
Honestly, spot on, Tim Kaine. Tim Kaine nailed that question hardcore. Like, also, can I just say something really quick? One of the biggest slam dunks I think that a modern politician could get is buying all medical debt and forgiving medical debt. Like, this idea about student loan forgiveness is one thing. I think that similarly to student loan forgiveness, we should also have medical debt forgiveness. Like, because we should have Medicare for all and it should be free, but we're not there yet. But I think a stepping stone to that would be medical debt forgiveness. Half of all bankruptcies are related to medical debt. And guys, do you know how much it would cost to buy all of America's medical debt and then just rip it up and totally forgive it? Here, let me pull it up. Okay? Okay? America currently owes $220 billion in medical debt. Okay? How much would it cost to buy it? God, Google search results has gotten so bad. The entirety of America's standing medical debt could be bought for less than $900 million. For less than $1 billion, we could forgive all American medical debt. For $900 million, we could forgive all American medical debt. Dead Domain, thank you so much for the raid. And I'm going to reiterate this because it's really awe-inspiring. You know, we have the student loan forgiveness, which should absolutely pass, right? That should absolutely be a thing. But then we also have medical debt. And medical debt should also have a forgiveness plan. That should be a mainstream Democratic talking point. 6% of U.S. adults hold over $1,000 in medical debt. Okay? That is a huge number of people. That's millions upon millions upon millions of people, and the easiest dunk in the world would be to buy that $220 billion of medical debt and then forgive it. Because it would only cost us $900 million. It's less than $1 billion. We could do it. It's one of the biggest, easiest wins of all time. Easiest win of all time. And maybe Democrats just haven't really had that idea put before them before. But I think we should maybe bug our senators about that. Maybe call your senator, call your congressman. Float that idea, because honestly, states have been doing it. Like different, not states, but like different counties, different cities have done it. And if a city can do it, the federal government certainly can. Seems like a couple $100 billion W. Absolutely. If you want to generate like basically infinite goodwill, champion that cause while pushing for Medicare for all. Also, welcome Raiders. If you don't know who I am, my name is Riverboat Jack. I talk about the news and politics. I'm a trans lady. I use she, her pronouns. And I don't know, I used to be a game journalist, and I think I'm pretty cool. Hit the follow button over on Twitch. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Like the YouTube stream. Let's keep going. We got like 17 minutes of this left.
As of last October, the U.S. Department of Education says more than 1 million Virginians owe a collective $43 billion in federal student debt, impacting their ability to contribute to our economy. So, Mr. Kao, how would you help these Virginians ease that burden? You have 60 seconds.
Is he gonna champion a policy that would hand them out bootstraps?
Again, bring down the interest rates to zero, and also
okay, yep, bring down the interest rate to zero. Okay.
We need to withhold federal funding for any colleges that...
You know what? I was half expecting him to say we should increase the amount of debt they have because we want to foster U.S. citizens that are truly alpha males and alpha females who are willing to rip out their own guts and ask for seconds. You know, I was expecting another answer of that.
That keep pumping up the tuition costs. Why does college cost so much? When he went to University of Missouri, it was $500 a year. Now it's 36 times more expensive. And so why is that? How come these large colleges have such large endowments and they're not co-signing for these loans? That's the people we need to go after. And look, we have the GI Bill. That is a great program for you. If you're struggling to pay for your school, then get a GI Bill. That means go out and serve the military. You'll get stipend as well as tuition. We need to fix education, and we need to do it now. But here's the thing with people like Senator Kaine. You've been in office, sir, for 30 years, in various offices, in the U.S. Senate for 12. Why have you not fixed it yet?
What, Virginia?
Sir, you've been in office for a long time. Why have you not fixed all of our problems? Checkmate, liberal.
Virginia was the best.
How are you kidding? How? You've been... Okay, guys, if you just came in, if you guys just came in, okay, the guy on the left is Senator Tim Kaine, okay, from Virginia. And you might be familiar with him because he was Hillary Clinton's VP pick, all right? You might still have some Tim Kaine on the brain. The guy on the right is named Hung Kao, and he is insane. And earlier, he gave a response to a question about how he's talked about DEI destroying the military, and he was asked how DEI destroys the military, and he proceeded to give one of the most nonsensical answers that just rambled from 9/11 to COVID conspiracism, and that's just where it ended, and it didn't address the question at all. Okay? And he got applause for that. And he's now getting applause for this. And I just want to tell you guys, if that doesn't make you feel like we're kind of cooked right now, and like you need to go out and like volunteer to knock on doors and like phone bank,
I was in Army
we need to
and
do
had
that.
the GI Bill. Still left with $20,000 debt. Plus the GI Bill only covers public colleges.
Oof, Simric. Sorry to hear about the $20,000 in debt. Ay, ay, ay. Hung Cow sounds kind of trans. Like the name does? I don't see it. Sorry. Thank you for the $5 dono, Simric. Appreciate it. We're not big enough to support ourselves, support the channel any other way, so thank you very much for your direct support.
Audience.
When I was governor, Virginia was named the best state for a child to be raised in the United States, the best managed state, and the best state to do business, and that continues because of our education system.
Mr. Kaine, Mr. Cow.
Also, I need to remind you all that the audience promised not to react at the beginning of this. I think they all crossed their fingers.
You can respond, Mr. Cow.
Oh, again, he says what he's going to do. It's going to be like, hey, why haven't you done it yet? Honestly, of the 227 bills that Senator Kaine has proposed, only...
Oh yeah, you want to do this long-term, you want to have a long-term goal? Well, why haven't you done it yesterday, huh? Huh? Why didn't you do your long-term goal yesterday, huh? That's right, lazy ass.
3 of them made it through.
That's completely wrong.
That's a 99% failure rate. My profession is disarming bombs.
Check the tape on that. That's completely wrong.
Okay, sir. Here, there's 2 truths in the world. Okay, never walk in a Target store wearing a red shirt, and never.
That's one of the truths of the world. That's a core. This guy keeps dropping. Like, is he sponsored by Target and Costco? Because he's been making references to them the entire time. Earlier, he talked about like Law and Order, and he talked about what would happen if you jumped in line at a Costco. Like what is this?
Go against an Asian when it comes to math. Trust me.
What does that mean?
Gentlemen, we're going to move on.
Look, he's got a 99% failure rate. If I defuse...
Wait. Whoa, did I miss something?
What? In a Target store wearing a red shirt, and never go against an Asian when it comes to math. Trust me.
What?
I mean, okay, a lot of you guys are going whoa, but I think he's allowed to say that because he's Asian. I think he's allowed. I think he has the pass. But also, I mean, he is just lying, so, you know, I don't know. I don't know about this one.
What does that mean?
Gentlemen, we're going to move on.
I mean, you can be racist towards people like yourself, so true. Also, fuck white people. I'm kidding.
Look, he's got a 99% failure rate. If I defuse bombs and I had 99% failure rate, I wouldn't be here.
Best managed state in America, best state for business, best state for education.
Mr. Kaine, Mr. Cow, we're moving on to the next topic. Deanna.
Thank you, Tom. Mr. Cow, we're going to start with you in the line.
I do literally have an emote called the Kraka emote. Oh no, sorry, it's not the Kraka emote. It's the honka emote. Okay, you have to drop the hard Y.
Last few weeks, the Biden administration announced $1.3 billion for historically black colleges and universities to ensure funding.
Oh my God, you guys, you got a 7 emote combo in chat. I'm impressed, guys.
Mr. Cow, would you support continued investment for HBCUs from Congress? You have 45 seconds.
Oh no.
Absolutely, and I don't know why they have to come hand in hand every single year. Let's make this a permanent thing and just move forward so that we can, again, like I said, education is the only equalizer out there. Let's allow for people to pull themselves up and start giving back to this country.
Thank you, Mr. Cow. And Mr. Kaine, given the record high deficit, how can future HBCU students trust that there will be continued investment? You have 45 seconds.
First, go by my track record. I have battled for HBCU funding for Norfolk State and other universities during my entire career. We could go for a walk right after this event, and I could show you buildings on this campus that were built because of bond packages I supported.
That's a pretty strong argument from Tim Kaine here. You know, that's a pretty strong argument. Like, when your response to that is literally like, oh yeah, you want to take a walk and look at all the buildings I helped get built here at this location? All right. Okay. Let's take a walk, motherfucker.
As a lieutenant governor and governor, and I could also show you programs on this campus that I have supported as a United States Senator. My commitment to HBCUs is intact for my entire 30 years, and I'm running against someone who says he would abolish the Department of Education. That is an extreme position that would hurt HBCUs, but would also hurt all of our colleges and all of our K-12 schools.
Thank you, Mr. Kaine. Mr. Kahl, before those students or children make it to college, they often need childcare, and the high cost of childcare is forcing many families to make difficult decisions about whether to pay to help get care for their children or potentially quit jobs that don't cover those expenses. Would you support providing incentives to businesses to create on-site childcare options? You have 30 seconds.
Absolutely. I mean, my wife and I had to make a decision a long time ago when we have 5 kids. And, you know, we made the hard decision that I would work and she would stay at home to take care of the kids because it costs too much to send them to daycare. And so, yes, I would absolutely incentivize and help companies, you know, get companies to help out with childcare for.
Wait, this is Tim Kaine? That Tim Kaine? Yeah, the Tim Kaine that's still on your brain, Media Breakdown. Thank you for the $4.99 super chat. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
For their families.
Thank you, Mr. Kahl. And to follow up, how would America pay for that, those incentives? You have 15 seconds.
Again, there's a lot of things we can pay for if we stop paying $1 billion a day to illegal aliens. That's $500 billion a year that we keep paying for illegal aliens to house and feed them.
You know what's wild though? The Congressional Budget Office, and again, like, obviously America needs to do better by, immigrants of all kinds, whether documented or undocumented, asylum seekers, refugees, etc. We need to do a lot better at welcoming people into our country. But like, if you look at the numbers crunched by the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, which is a nonpartisan organization that usually has a conservative slant to it, they found that over the next 10 years, undocumented immigrants are going to add over $1 trillion, almost $1 trillion in value to our economy. So like, he's like, oh, but it's $1 billion a day, $1 billion a day. But like, okay. But even if I grant that is true, which I'm not at all convinced is true, but even if I grant that to be the case, with the current way we support them, they're going to give back to our economy by almost $1 trillion. Like, you're actively giving away a incredibly precious resource instead of like fostering it, helping people to learn, to grow, to flourish, and find happiness and home in America, like actively turning them away. I think it's actually un-American to embrace his position. Matt Binder, thank you so much for the raid. Hope you guys had a good stream. Welcome, folks. We are just finishing up the Virginia Senate debate. It's been pretty fascinating. This guy is atrocious.
Into this country. Let's take care of Americans first.
Thank you, Mr. Kahl. And Mr. Kaine, you have already indicated your support for giving businesses incentives to create those on-site childcare options. Would Americans face increased taxes to pay for that? You have 30 seconds.
I have a proposal with Senator Katie Britt, a Republican of Alabama, to take 3 provisions currently in the tax code to help parents and employers afford child care that are not very robust, and so they're not really working. And so Senator Britt and I have a bipartisan proposal that will be discussed when we do tax reform next year that would put money back in parents' pockets. I also successfully supported in the American Rescue Plan, which my opponent opposed, a provision to dramatically expand the child tax credit that reduced poverty and put money back in the pockets of parents that they could use for child care expenses, that they could use for health care. That provision has expired because Republicans won't support its extension. But if I'm a senator in a third term, we're going to restore the child tax credit, which will be the biggest tax cut for working people in the history of this country.
Honestly, more Democrats need to hit on this particular point. I think Kamala Harris needs to hit on this particular point as well. Like, and frankly, I don't think her plan with the child tax credit goes far enough. But, you know, setting that aside, the fact that Republicans oppose the child tax credit, something that lifted like 50% of children out of poverty for just a pittance of like the U.S. federal budget. We lifted half of children out of poverty. And like, guys, if we boosted that child tax credit to even a slightly larger pittance, we could eliminate child poverty in America. It could basically be almost impossible for children to live in poverty. If we wanted to do that. If we bent the political will toward that end. Just letting you guys know. And like Kamala Harris is coming out with has a policy for $6,000, I think, for like the first year or maybe 2 years of like an infant's life, before it like goes down to like where the normal tax credit is, and I think that's at like $3,000 per year. But like, we could just make it a $6,000 tax credit. We could just do that, and that would be one of the single greatest things for like working families in America in like U.S. history. We could eliminate child poverty. We could absolutely we could absolutely do that.
Thank you, Mr. Kaine, for outlining your legislative.
3-year-olds famously cost no money. Yeah, they just stop being expensive. Yeah. You never have to buy more clothes for a growing child.
Priorities and what you're working on. But the question was, would Americans face increased taxes to pay for these kinds of incentives or tax cuts?
My belief is...
Oh, that is true. That is true, Benjamin Kessler. It would be a lot harder to send children to work in the dangerous meat packing plants or working the fryers at McDonald's at 3 a.m. if they had more financial security. It's true. It would be harder for child labor to make great strides in coming back.
There are savings that we can find that will help do this. I'll give you an example. We are now finally negotiating for prescription drug prices with the big pharma companies under Medicare. In the first year...
Hey, Foxbat!
This dude has the most severe case of vet bro brain I've ever seen this side of black racist coffee company. Oh,
it's the Dono Ghost! P. Foxbat, thank you for that BWA energy. I appreciate it. Thank you for supporting the stream. Let's roll right along. We're almost done here.
Alone, that is going to save taxpayers and seniors $7.5 billion. And that's just negotiating on 10 drugs prices. If we negotiate all drugs under Medicare, we will save tremendous amounts of money that we can use for other priorities like child care. My opponent opposed that bill and says he would repeal it. If he is elected, that will cause prescription drug prices to skyrocket.
Thank you, Mr. Kaine. We now will move on to reproductive rights. Tom.
And
going
to
I'm
IVF.
so sorry. We are going to IVF.
Correct.
Mr. Kaine, the average in vitro fertilization treatment costs $50,000 per pregnancy. Do you believe the federal government and private insurance should cover that cost? You have 60 seconds.
The federal government, no, and the private insurance, yes. Look, my family benefited from fertility treatments, so I don't know where all his commercials saying I'm against IVF, I don't know where that comes from. Look, I'm about families, and I want to grow families. And my second of 5 children was adopted, and I want to make sure that we're pro-family. It costs a lot of money, and it was a lot of time and paperwork, the paperwork that's necessary to protect the child, but it was so hard, and I want to allow for families to welcome a child into their lives like we did. Our second child, who is now a young mother, and now I'm a grandfather of a baby girl because of her coming into our home. So I'm very grateful of that. I want to be very family-friendly in the United States. That includes allowing for fertility treatments like my family got, or adoption like my family did.
Thank you, Mr. Kahl. You did mention private insurers. How would you incentivize them to do so, to cover those costs in a way that wouldn't leave Americans absorbing higher premiums?
That's a great question because, again, with his plan, the Medicare X, that's just a Trojan horse for a single-payer, government-run program. It's a
Whoa, whoa, whoa. You don't need to sell me anymore on this, my friend. Say no more. I'm voting for Tim Kaine. Oh, my God. You just made Tim Kaine sound way more cool than I thought he was. Whoa, whoa, whoa. You're saying Tim Kaine wants to get Virginians guaranteed health care that will cover everything and not lead them into medical debt that leaves them in poverty forever and has them losing their homes? Why? That's sensational!
It's the entry program for Kamala Harris's favorite thing, which is single-payer and government-run health.
Flash Mommy, I see your comment about can we have Kyle Clark from Colorado News 9 do every single debate ever, please? We'll circle back around to that shortly. Don't worry.
Insurance. When you have no choices, you will have no choices.
I got
Medicare
you.
for all is Medicare for none, and so this is why we need competition within.
The Dono Ghost strikes again. Oh,
it's the Dono Ghost! It's peeing everywhere! Thank you for gifting a sub, Little Morphine Annie. I really appreciate it. I am keeping track of the donos off screen, so don't worry.
In the insurances, and that's how we're going to allow for them to pay for IVF and other fertility treatments.
Thank you, Mr. Kahl. Mr. Kaine, the same question to you. At that average cost of $50,000 per pregnancy, do you believe the federal government and private insurance should cover the cost of IVF? 60 seconds.
Let me tell you why Virginians are very skeptical about my opponent's support for IVF. He said he would support a national bill that would establish that life begins at conception, no exceptions. Everyone looking at that bill has said that it would dramatically restrict women's ability to access abortion and even contraception and IVF. He's never taken back his support for that bill. That kind of a national bill would do grave harm to reproductive rights for all Americans. Here's what I believe, that insurance policies often mandate coverage for certain things, mental health treatments and others. And yes, insurance policies, including policies that are offered on the exchanges under the Affordable Care Act, should mandate a coverage for IVF services, subject to the same copays and deductibles that others. I don't think IVF services should be carved out in a way that heart surgery or other really important procedures are not. But yes, a mandated coverage subject to the same rules for other coverages. But we should not pass a national bill that would restrict people's access to abortion, contraception, and IVF, and we also shouldn't demonize women and doctors.
You know, it is really insane that we are currently in an election in 2024. You know, a year... For people who are young, you might not realize this, but there was a time not that long ago when 2020 was envisioned as, like, unfathomably in the future, you know? Do you guys remember the movie Pacific Rim? Do you guys remember that movie, that Guillermo del Toro movie that he made about the giant robots fighting kaiju all around the world? That movie was set 4 years ago, and in it, we had gigantic skyscraper-sized robots. And, in 2024 in the real world, we still have modern politicians going, yeah, we probably shouldn't demonize women and doctors. Like it's the fucking 1400s and the Inquisition is in full swing. He cured a wart. He's a witch. She has a cat. She's a witch. We're literally like at that level still. We are not as advanced as we think we are compared to people who lived long ago.
My opponent has compared women and doctors who make the difficult choice to terminate a pregnancy to Nazis and bomb makers. That is outrageous insult to women who are making tough personal reproductive decisions that they are entitled to make.
Mr. Kaine, thank you.
Hold
Mr.
on,
Cow,
let's
I
be
want to give
very
you an
clear.
opportunity. If our
I
audience
want to
would
be
quiet
very
down,
clear
I want to.
tonight. Hold on, I want to be very clear tonight. I will not sign any bill at the federal level to ban abortion. I don't know where he gets.
Hey Jack, the goddess is very pissed off. She is going to shake this monkey off her back. She is strong. The maggots are waking up a woman that they have no idea of her strength. They are scared.
Mr. Bojangles, thank you for the $10 dono over on YouTube. I
Chattery
appreciate
knows
it.
where is the BWA energy? Oh.
Sorry, we got to have a little bit of fun. Thank you so much to Mr. Bojangles and Bisadu. Thank you so much.
Gets this from. The Supreme Court made the right decision to push this down to the states.
Horrible
But
decision.
what Senator Kaine wants to do is take it out of the hands of voters in Virginia and give it to a senator in California and a congressman in Idaho. He's got the most extreme views, which is unlimited abortion up to including moon birth. And you've seen
that
it.
is not
yes,
my
sir,
position.
it is because
That is
you
not
voted
my
against.
position.
Hold on, because you voted against the Born Alive Infant Protection Act. That is the most extreme thing there is.
Okay, I'm just gonna float this out there though. Jazz Dog, thank you for the $5 dono. I appreciate that. But I am going to throw out this idea here, and that is that fundamentally, women in California and women in Virginia should both have the right to bodily integrity and autonomy.
Woo-woo.
I don't think it meaningfully changes between California and Virginia whether or not women are entitled to having control over their own bodies. I think, in fact, both deserve the same amount, which is all of it. Death Metal Ghost. Thank you for the $4.99 super chat, Brutus Magnuson. And Cannabo Brex, thank you for the boo-woo. I appreciate it. You guys are very generous, and I appreciate it so goddamn much. Especially because I'm trying to get my brakes repaired, so consider helping a girl out. Also, thank you for the raid. What can you do? I appreciate it. Welcome, folks.
You voted against it for child born alive. You voted against that.
Let me explain.
So what he wants to do is take it out of the hands of voters. I want to keep it back in the hands of voters because I don't want a senator from California.
Well, you want to take so you're saying he wants to take it out of the hands of voters, and you want to put it back in the hands of voters. But the thing you want to put in the hands of voters is like the right for women to control their bodies. So you're taking that right away from women in your state and putting that in the hands of your voters. They already had that right. It got taken away from them, and you're okay with that.
California or Congressman from Idaho making decisions.
Murder is, in fact, already illegal, Ceres. Last I checked, not a lawyer, not legal advice. Murder, probably illegal.
For Virginians.
Let me explain.
Mr. Kaine,
Yeah.
when our audience quiets down, I do want to give you 15 seconds
Yeah.
to respond there.
There was a bill called the Born Alive Protection Act that I did vote against because it was already federal law.
That's the thing, right? Like when it comes to abortion issues, it's so ridiculous. Because Republicans will try and pass a bill like the Not Killing Babies Act. And like, this bill makes it illegal to kill babies. And it's like, but it's already illegal to kill babies. You don't need to pass that. And they're like, my opponent doesn't support the Don't Kill Babies Act. Clearly he wants to kill babies. It's like, no, that's not how that works, actually. Also, sometimes I leave the screen on my face for like a few seconds longer. Look, I do like 7-hour-long shows, guys. You cut me a little bit of slack. I'm trying my best. But we're going on hour 4 of the show.
It had become federal law 10 years before, and every state prohibits abortions in those circumstances.
The Don't Stare at the Sun Act. Uh-oh. But that would mean we have to arrest Donald Trump.
This was an effort to smear women, like calling them Nazis or bomb makers. I voted against smears, and I have the only bipartisan proposal in Congress right now that would codify Roe versus Wade, which should never have been overturned. Women should be protected to make their own reproductive decisions before the point of fetal viability, and state legislatures should be able to impose reasonable restrictions after. That's Virginia.
As far as like liberals go, Tim Kaine is a very like he's decent. Like, obviously, as a socialist, I don't agree with him. But, like, as far as liberal politicians go, he's pretty inoffensive, and he's correct on, like, I don't know, 70% of things, maybe.
Virginia law right now, I support it, and I think it's the right law for the United States.
Well, also, like, Olive Rider, the thing is, and I know, like, I hate it when politicians go on and on about bipartisanship, because we're not in that era of politics anymore. But it does play well to the median voter, and when you're in election mode, you gotta cater to the median voter, and that it sucks. But we are the people out there who need to work on like educating median voters and getting information out there, and radicalizing, you know, people in our workplaces and stuff, because that's where we're gonna have more success shifting the electorate than relying on politicians to message like well during an election, because their goal isn't to message correctly on points. Their job is to get elected. Like they have a different goal than what we want them to have.
Thank you, Mr. Kaine. Thank you, Mr. Kaine. But now that you've brought that up, what abortion restrictions would you support?
Those that are in place in Virginia right now, for example.
Can you?
I gotta be honest, Flash Mommy. I don't think Hillary picked him to be on her left. I think Hillary picked him because he's a pretty approachable white man. You know? And he's not really interested in like shining as like a figure. So, like, he wouldn't, like, overshadow her. So I think that's mainly why she picked him, not because he's, like, to the left of her or anything.
The requirement of parental consent or notification and consent for minors with a judicial bypass. The narrowing of circumstances after the point of viability in which an abortion can be performed. And a requirement that those circumstances have to be validated by physicians.
Yeah, he was basically a Joe Biden pick. Not gonna lie, that like how Obama picked Joe Biden, Hillary picked Tim Kaine.
Those are Virginia laws right now that I do support, but we should restore the basic protections of Roe versus Wade and not celebrate its demise as my opponent does.
For this federal bill, where's his limits?
We do have to move on. We are almost out of time here, so we do have to move on. Mr. Cowell, you will get this question first, actually. So are there any circumstances under which you would not certify the results if Vice President Kamala Harris won the election? You have 60 seconds.
I don't know where you're asking this from. I mean, I would.
I have no idea why you're asking me this question. Why I am offended you would even ask me such a question. How dare you?
She won, then she won. That's the thing. It's like, you know, they keep calling me a threat to democracy. Do you understand that I know what a threat to democracy is? My father was put on a kill list by the communists. We had to run away in the middle of the night to get out of Vietnam. I've spent my entire life fighting to defend democracy. And people who've never worn the cloth.
Yeah. Did you guys ever hear about the Somali pirate invasion of America? No? That's thanks to him, Hung Kao.
Of this nation call me a threat to democracy. After just 3 years ago, they were thanking me for my service. I know what a threat to democracy is. And you know what a threat to democracy is? What's happening at our border, our southern border, when 13,000 convicted murderers and 16,000 convicted rapists are coming through. What's happening on our campuses when they shout death.
Just out of curiosity, how do you know that there are 16,000 rapists coming through the southern border? That's a very oddly specific number, and I'm wondering where you got it from.
America, that's a threat to our democracy.
Thank you, Mr. Kao. Mr. Kaine, we have the same question for you. Mr. Kaine, same question to you. Are there any circumstances under which you would not certify the results if former President Donald Trump were elected? You have 60 seconds.
I'm going to certify the result. I did it in 2016 when I was on the ballot, wasn't happy about the result, conceded immediately, and certified it. I didn't try to inspire an attack on the Capitol. I don't think I've ever called my opponent a name like he's suggesting, but I do point out something about my opponent's extreme position. He has taken the position that those who attacked the Capitol on January 6, 2021, leading to death, including of law enforcement officers and others.
Hold on. That's been debunked so many times.
Let me finish.
Yeah, this is Hung Kao. Wait, okay, so he's going to take the position that, no, cops were fine on January 6th. Excellent.
He has said that those individuals should not be prosecuted, they should be compensated. Those who attack the Capitol.
We are just about out of time, so we're going to have to end that.
We're going to have to go to closing statements, gentlemen. First, we will allow the candidates 30 seconds for closing statements. Mr. Kao, you will go first, which was determined by recent polling.
When Vietnam fell, we had nowhere to run to. But this great country called the United States took us in and gave us an opportunity and gave us life.
Damn, if only you supported that for people from other countries in other times and other circumstances. But fuck all those people from South and Latin America, huh?
Life. I grabbed onto the American dream. I went to the top schools in the country, including the United States Naval Academy. But I spent 25 years defending that right to come here. This country has taken a dark turn. And the Democrats are turning this country into what I ran away from. And 30 year.
Mr. Kao, I need time for Mr. Kaine's closing statement. We're running out of time. Mr. Kaine, 30 seconds.
The choice is pretty clear for Virginians. You want results or do you want extremism? I led my city to a renaissance as mayor that's still continuing. When I was governor, we were best state for business, best educated, best managed state. In the Senate, I've worked on powerful legislation so that we are building again with infrastructure, we're making again with manufacturing, and we're innovating again, and Virginia is leading the way.
We're out of time. Thank you for joining us.
Early voting is underway right now. Have a great night, everyone.
Oh, God. I don't want Elden Ring lore. No, you can't take me back there.
Line through the middle of the...
Okay, we're good. Sorry. Tim Kaine did really well, and I think Hung Kao came across like an absolute lunatic. Again, though, maybe that's kind of where the Republican electorate is. Like, the fact that he got cheers for just saying patently untrue things, ridiculous. You didn't hear Vati video, you heard Hawkshaw, you uncultured swine. Time-limited debate stinks. I think that was great. Took us a while to get through it, honestly. But overall, Tim Kaine looking good. I want to see how is Tim Kaine polling. Tim Kaine polls. Let's take a look at 538 real quick. Oh, okay. Wow. All right. So Tim Kaine was within striking distance like a month ago. Like, our cow was in striking distance, maybe, hypothetically, of Tim Kaine about a month ago, but, Tim Kaine's kind of running away with it. He's up 20 points. Let's go! Okay, so at least Hung Cow won't be in Congress. Fingers crossed. Ay, ay, ay. Thank God. El Cow. Yeah, exactly. Ay. Anyway. That was fascinating. That was a fascinating debate. I can't wait to dig into more of these, which we are absolutely going to do. Stay tuned. Gotta press that end of segment button. All right, folks, we've got another debate lined up. But before we get to that, hey, hi, what's up? We've been streaming for 4 hours. How are you doing, guys? Hope you're all feeling good, feeling happy, feeling healthy. Hi, Winby. And I know we have a bunch of new people, so if you guys got questions for me, feel free to ask. I love talking with new people. Very tired, actually. How's the new break sub count? Ooh, good question. We are currently at 173 out of 400. We've still got a ways to go here, but we've made a lot of progress so far. Thank you to everyone who's been dropping those subs and donos, because my braking system needs to be replaced. I am the 100th like. Well, you know. Okay, we have there's 163 likes on the stream. I appreciate that. I think we can hit 200 though tonight. I think we can get 40 some more likes. Let's go. Let's go. 37 likes. I believe in you, chat. My girlfriend likes your outfit. Thank you. Doing my best with what I got. It's my first election not voting in Virginia. Feels weird. I don't have a question, just hello. Hello, Girl J. I'm Girl Jack, so I feel you. I feel you. Having a rad time on this first stream. What was that ballad you played before popping in visually? The Palestine one? Or the Riverboat one? That was kind of like a little rap. You're asking about the Palestine one. That was... Yeah, that was this particular song, Oh Palestine by Seth Staten Watkins. There you go. Dropped you a link. Is Jack short for Jacqueline? No, it is not. It's just Jack.